What's going on, guys? Uh, we're back with another solo episode, but missed a lot of news, a lot of sports news, a lot of music news, a lot of just everything. Uh, yeah, so let's get right into it. First off, to start with sports news, Kyler Murray finally got paid. He pouted his way into getting paid, so I bet you Debo's looking at this contract. Obviously, he's a wide receiver, not a quarterback, but he's looking at this contract with the Birdman washing his hands or shaking his hands. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get paid. I'm gonna get paid because AJ Brown got paid. Lamar better get paid because he's just a better quarterback than Kyler. Obviously, MVP, all that. But let's just focus on Kyler's extension. So his extension is, I think it's 4 or 5 years, 230.5 full for the full contract, 160 guaranteed, 105 guaranteed at signing, and I believe he is now the only quarterback being paid less per year than Aaron Rodgers, who is getting paid $50 million per year. And my thoughts on it is, you had to pay him. You have to. You kind of have to bite the bullet. I think he's a good quarterback. I think it's just he's very small for his position, and that's not saying he can't do it. But at the same time, Russ is a pretty stout quarterback. Drew Brees is pretty stout. If you want to say Baker, Baker's more built than a Kyler because Kyler's basically my size. And no offense to short kings, we're not that tall and we're not really bent for, professional sports. We could do them. We're probably going to have a shorter career. But obviously he's playing not like a wide receiver where it's like there's some plays he can kind of take off. He's got the ball in his hands every single play. And with an awful offensive line that Arizona has, he's getting killed half the time where he's playing, freeze tag where he's running around trying not to get hit. And that's probably the main reason why he keeps getting hurt in the second half of the season, which that's something Arizona should tackle in their offseason, which it seems they haven't. It also doesn't help that he wanted to break the bank, which I don't blame him for, but he really does need offensive line. We've seen the Bengals. They went to the Super Bowl this year, realized, yeah, we have no offensive linemen. Got a bunch of them in the draft and through free agency. Their offensive line is looking at least better than it was before. They're probably going to be able to compete for another championship this year. But Kyler, he needs an offensive line because and their team is just kind of a mess right now where it's get one guy, lose two guys, or lose a guy. And it seems like it's been that way all offseason where it's like, oh, they got Hollywood Brown, D-Hop gets suspended for 6 weeks. Oh, they get J.J. Watt, they lose Chandler Jones. Obviously, they played together last year, but now they lose Chandler Jones going to the Las Vegas Raiders. So their team's kind of in a weird spot where I think he deserved to get paid. I think he deserves every dime of it. He's played very well every single year. I believe his first year, he only won 5 games. Second year, 8 games. Last year, 11 games. And made it to the playoffs where he got spanked. But I think he's a good quarterback. But his leadership skills is another thing where, let's talk about that, where he's a great player, but he seems not to be a great leader. And I'm not saying every player isn't a leader, but when you're the quarterback, I feel you got to have some type of leadership qualities. You see in the playoff game, he's pouting. He doesn't even want to finish the game. Where if that's Tom Brady, he may not shake your hand at the end of the game if he lost, but he's gonna continue to play that entire game, being like, "No, we got this. We could win," and that's the mentality you want to have, compared to being, "Oh well, we already kind of lost. I might as well not get myself injured so I could get paid." And maybe that was going through his head. Maybe he realized, "Oh, I keep getting hurt latter half of the season for the past 3 seasons." So he's like, "Oh, let me get my back secured, and we'll go from there." But I think he deserved to get paid. I think he put him in a spot where they had to pay him. I think they were going to pay him regardless. I just think he did it probably the most childish way, which seems to be the new wave now. Because before it was just kind of holding out for a bit or not coming to camp, and now it's all you scrub your IG. That's how you indicate if you want to trade or if you want to be, you want to be paid more money. It's a weird situation. But I hope he's happy. He got his money. He deserves it. He's probably going to be, at least by the end of this offseason, how it shakes out, top 4 in being paid for quarterbacks, because I believe it's A-Rod number 1, Deshaun 2, even though this year he's only getting paid $10 million on the books, and Lamar, when he better get paid, I think he's going to be above him, so he'll probably be 4th on that list, which is still pretty good considering I don't think he's a top 5 QB in the league right now. I think he's a top 10, even though latter half of the season he's played more like a bottom 10, bottom 20. But I definitely think he should have got paid. It's the going market for everybody who's saying he's overpaid, everything like that. It's the going market. It's what everybody's getting paid now. It's just going to keep going up next year when it's Justin Herbert, and it's Joe Burrow. It's going to be maybe $300 million. So it's the going rate. They're kind of lucky they signed him now, because I bet you in 2 years they're going to be like, wow, this is a steal. Also, there's been talks about how in his contract he needs 4 hours independent study per game week, which I don't know exactly what that means. Kind of sounds like a whole bunch of bull jive and stupid shit. Maybe it means with coaches. Maybe it means, I don't know. For me, that seems kind of more of like a leadership thing, where it's if you need it in your contract that you need 4 hours of independent study, shouldn't you already be doing that per game week? Shouldn't you already? Because I'm going to say it's probably for film. Shouldn't you already be looking at film constantly? Shouldn't you already be in the weights, in the books, everything? Especially if you want to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback in this league now, where the young guys are, 2 guys have already had quarterback success. Pat Mahomes obviously already won a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow already went to a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson already has an MVP. It's a quarterback's league at the end of the day. So I think you want to play. You better be able to play well when it comes to Sunday. And the fact that that's in the contract is very weird and perplexing. Again, like I said, I have no idea exactly what that means. Maybe they just put it on the contract for everybody, but it doesn't seem like it is that way for Arizona. So I'll definitely say it's a very, very perplexing thing as to why they put it in there. And I hope we have more news coming out about it this week. But since I am talking about contracts, I would like to touch on Lamar Jackson, how, like I said, I think he's a better quarterback than Kyler Murray. He has also won a league MVP. He's 37-12 as a starter in this league, which is fantastic for his first, I believe he's in his 5th year. Yeah, should be in his 5th year. And at this point, they know what Lamar is, or they should know what Lamar is. And he's his own representative, so he's kind of doing all the negotiations himself, which kind of explains why it's going a little bit slower. But it's also treacherous where teams are going to tell him things he doesn't want to hear, where they're probably going to have to tell him, oh, we don't think you're that great when it comes to passing the ball on, I don't know, pushing it down the field, because he has an arm, but he doesn't have the greatest arm. We all know he's better with his legs. But to win a Super Bowl, you see Matt Stafford this year, he didn't win it with his legs. He won it with a pinpoint accurate pass to Cooper Kupp in the Super Bowl. That's how you win games. As much as you love to use your feet and scramble out of the pocket, at the end of the day, you need to be able to throw from the pocket to win a Super Bowl. And they're probably going to tell him that it's going to hurt. It's going to make you look at the organization weird, like, oh, they don't believe in me and all this. But it's just how negotiations are. That's how any negotiation is. They talk to you. They basically tell you what they think you are, what they think you aren't. And it's just nice to have that buffer with the representative where they'll tell the representative that, and the representative won't tell you so that you don't have to hear it. That way, it keeps the relationship nice and fresh for any and there are further negotiations that need to go on and all that type of stuff. But to each his own, I guess. He's saving that 10% or 3 to 10% depending on who he would have had. Yeah, he's saving that money, but at the same time, want to hear that. Do you really want to hear that? Do you want to be going through all that pain? Did you think it was going to be this way? Only he knows what's going through his brain. Only he knows what's happening with the negotiation, but wish him the best. He deserves to be paid with one of the greats. He deserves to be paid on that kind of Aaron Rodgers level since he has won MVP and since he has pretty great numbers. But we'll see because camp's coming pretty damn soon. I'm pretty sure the Hall of Fame game is August 4th, and it is July 26th at time of this recording. So they better get moving because the sooner it comes, the more and more you're gonna have to pay him. So might as well pay him what he's worth now before you wait, franchise tag him, and then say it's 300 million. Like I said, now you got to pay him 300 million because he's already won an MVP compared to the other two guys that are coming up. Even though Joe Burrow has been to a Super Bowl. But I digress. Let's move away from football for a bit. We're gonna go to Celtics offseason. So last time me and Evan were on, we obviously had lost the title. I didn't think at that point we'd be doing anything when it came to the offseason because at least while I've been a major Celtics fan, we haven't really done anything in the offseason crazy. But this year we made a lot of good pickups. We got Malcolm Brogdon, who is a very, very solidified player. We got Gallinari from Atlanta. And when it comes to everybody saying, oh, well, why'd we get Brogdon when we already have Marcus Smart? Marcus Smart is a good point guard in the sense of, yeah, he's probably the size of a point guard, even though he's pretty short for a point guard. He's the size, he has the defensive prowess, even though he doesn't have the offensive skill. But he can't run the point like how Malcolm Brogdon can. And when I say that, I mean he's not a true point. He's more of a number two, like how every guard is in this league. He could shoot one on occasion, but I'd really like him to be at that two guard spot instead of true point. Because at the end of that finals, we saw, instead of Jason Tatum having the ball in his hands, trying to create for everyone, we need Malcolm Brogdon to do that. We don't need another scorer to come in. We don't need, because we have enough scores. We just need somebody to truly get everybody in their spots, get them wide open looks, and we're good. And for Gallinari, good, definitely a good 3-point shooter coming off the bench. I'm pretty sure he shot 37% last year from three for Atlanta. And to get him for the steal that we did was great. Also to get the steal for Malcolm Brogdon that we did. Like I said, great offseason. I think best offseason in the league so far. We're the only ones that seem to actually know what we're doing. Compared to if you look at Atlanta, they got DeJounte Murray. I don't know how that's going to work, considering both guys really need the ball. And you could say, it's only those two guys, but they also aren't the greatest at defense, especially Trae Young only being 5'11", 195. Let's give him 195. It's going to be interesting for them. I think they've already kind of hit their ceiling. I don't know what they could do to get better. I guess get size, but even getting size, you still are going to have Trae Young at the point because he's your best player. So it's definitely going to be a very tricky situation. But like I said, my starting lineup for the Celtics would have to be Malcolm Brogdon, would have to be Marcus Smart at the 2, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and then Rob Will or Al Horford. But we also do need another big when it comes to playoff time because I love playoff Al, but he's getting older. We all know he probably doesn't have that much time left. We saw at the end last year he just ran out of gas, which I don't blame him for. He's in his 40s now, I believe, or late 30s. So that's just what happens when you get older. No, he's not in his 40s. He's definitely late 30s, but that's just what happens when you get older. You get gassed quicker. That's why it's a young man's league when it comes to the body aspect, but it's a old man's league when it comes to the brain. That's why you see LeBron is still very successful, even though, yes, he's still built and still moves kind of as a young man. You can see he's starting to labor a little bit. He's starting to get more nicked. But that's what my starting five would have to be coming into the season. For playoffs, obviously, stuff happens in the middle of the season. We'd have to see how the season starts, but that's what I would want our starting five to be. And I think that's a pretty deadly starting five, even though it is a little bit shorter. That's a great defensive unit. And if we keep that same intensity for defense that we did last year, I think we could go back to at least the ECF, at least. But, of course, talking about our Celtics, we have to talk about the huge news that we got yesterday at the time of this recording, how Celtics have offered a trade for Kevin Durant, or basically they offered a trade and this is what they would want. So for Kevin Durant, they want Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, 3 picks, a pick swap, and another role player for Kevin Durant. My take on this is Kevin Durant probably the greatest scorer of all time, or let's say the greatest scorer of all time. At least that I've seen, yes. Is he a generational talent? Yes. Is he still one of the best players in the league? Again, yes. Would I want this trade to go through? Hell no. And then let me tell you why. We just made it to the finals last year without him. Want to know why? We played defense. While a lot of teams they want to go into a shooting match, that's fine. We play defense. That's what our identity should be, or at least what it was. We keep that intensity. We already have the core pieces. Like I said, we got Malcolm Brogdon, we got Gallinari, we got a shooter in Gallinari, we got our pure point in Malcolm Brogdon. How about let's see how this chemistry works before we just go get Kevin Durant just for a scoring ability. Also, Jaylen Brown. If anything, he's the only player that showed up to the finals. Only player. Jason Tatum played like crap. Marcus Smart turned the ball over per usual, even though yes, Jaylen Brown was second in turnovers this year when it came to the playoffs. Of course, Jason Tatum was first. I'm guessing the role player they probably want, it's reported as Grant Williams. Grant Williams didn't really play great in the finals. He was okay. He was great leading up to the finals. And of course, Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year. People are saying, oh, well, if you already have Malcolm Brogdon, you don't really need him. What he brings is, and I don't care what anybody says, he is the heartbeat of the team. If you want to say it's Jason Tatum, sure, I'm not going to agree with you. But sure, if you want to say Jaylen Brown, either way, we're messing with the chemistry we have on the team. Marcus Smart has been there the longest. He understands the culture. He's the tone setter half the time. It's just, I just don't think this, especially for, again, a guy like KD, where we saw he signed his extension last year, early last year. He's in his first year of his new extension, and he doesn't even want to play for Brooklyn. Is it because Brooklyn hasn't put enough pieces in front of him to win? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense of they let James Harden go for Ben Simmons, who didn't play. But we know what Ben Simmons is, even though I'm not a Ben Simmons fanatic. You have to look at the numbers and say, oh, he's a 3-time All-Star. He was in Defensive Player of the Year running, and he has a Rookie of the Year. You can't argue with that. And he's only 25, going into 26 this season. But I also say no, because realistically, the only reason why James Harden probably left is because of all of Kyrie's bullshit. And that's kind of on Kevin for not checking his boy, being like, bro, do you want to win? Do you, like, we all made sacrifices. We all said, oh, we're gonna have to, like, get less points, get shoot less, whatever it is, maybe less assists. We are gonna have to sacrifice to win this. And he said, oh yeah, and then when it came down to it, he didn't want to do it. So do I blame him for wanting to leave Kyrie? God, no. Kyrie he's a very temperamental player. He's some of the most talented handles, shot creation, layup package we've probably ever seen in this league and ever will see. But when it comes to being actually on the court, he can't seem to manage to do that. He's played less games for the Brooklyn Nets in these past 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. No, 3 years than he did the 2 years he did with the Celtics. That's a problem, considering he didn't play that much with the Celtics. And again, like I said, we all know Kevin Durant is that guy. But I don't want to mess up the chemistry we already have on this team. I think we have a team in place that we could win a championship, given that we get another big. But I think we could win a championship. Kevin Durant, let's say we do make this trade go through. Okay, say Kevin Durant plays with us this year and then wants to get out next year. Then what do we do? Because we're definitely not going to get the talent. We're definitely not going to get all the picks and stuff we got back. Maybe let's say we trade him away for an all-star starter, 2 picks, and a pick swap. even then, that's still not half of what we got realistically, where we traded away a defensive player of the year, a 25-year-old almost all-star in Jaylen Brown, or maybe all-star in Jaylen Brown, a great role player in Grant Williams, the 3 picks, and a pick swap. So, to people who want this trade to happen, I just question why. Because we all know what Kevin Durant is. I could go on and on about his talents and just how great he's been. But at the same time, we see Curry's been able to win without him. Because I would have to say Kevin Durant probably is a top 15 player of all time. But Steph just vaulted himself to the top 10. And realistically, I think yeah, he was the best player on those Warriors team, but without Curry, I still don't think they win those years. And realistically, they're a couple shots away from winning 2 without Kevin Durant because he would have been hurt in that Raptors finals back in 2019. So it's a very precarious situation, and now I guess Jaylen Brown has seen the trade, obviously all over Woj, and he's perplexed, is the quote. So now we might have just upset our secondary superstar, secondary star, into maybe saying, "Oh, y'all don't want me. Maybe I should just ask for a trade." And now, after we finally fought to have them stay, the 2Js, now we pissed one off who might want to leave. So, as much as I've raved about Brad Stevens heading up to the executive role, replacing Danny Ainge, and he's done a great job, but this was, for me, this was an L. This was an L. This is just a bad trade all around, at least for us, because we're losing at the end of the day. Yeah, you could say Nets are losing because they're losing Kevin Durant, and we're winning because we're getting Kevin Durant in that trade scenario. But with Kevin Durant, with his mood swings, because I think he just wants to play basketball, but at the same time, I I don't trust his mental for, oh, if he's gonna stay past a year, 2 years, and do I want him to just in 2 years be like, oh, I want to get up out of here, compared to say we lock down Jaylen Brown for another 4 or 5 years. I just want to take that chance. But it seems that Celtics already have vetoed the trade anyway, so either way, let's hope it doesn't happen. Let's pray it doesn't happen, because that would just because I think right now Celtics have a chance to be top 2 seed in the East like we were this year. We do that, I think we're still in the playoffs, but I think we're closer to 5 to 7, which is fine, I guess, if you're fine with that. But since we're 2, I want to keep that. And to move on from Celtics drama, we're gonna go to Russ drama, my favorite. Russ is virtually untradeable. Russ is just untradeable. Nobody wants Russ no more. And yes, I get it. The Russ disrespect is insane. Saying, oh, he's not worth a bag of potatoes. That's not true. We all know Russ is a top 75 player. He's going to go down as one of the greatest point guards of all time. He showed last year that he has a lot of empty stats. And I was asked an interesting question about this, where is this year what Russ has always looked like, but since he wasn't in like the national space where OKC isn't getting that much attention, obviously, until they went to the finals. Where did he go? Wizards, the Rockets. They're not getting national coverage like the Lakers are. Lakers are getting primetime TV every single year, even if they suck, because they're the Lakers, just like the Knicks. Now, I think this year was, in a way, more of not a showing of what was, but showing of what's to come. I think his athleticism is heavily waning, and when that's mainly how you generate your offense, that straddles you in a point where, all right, at least if it's like LeBron has developed a shot now, or if you want to use Kobe and Jordan, we all know they're some of the most athletic guys in their eras, but they realize, oh, I can't keep jumping up, hurting my knees all the time, so they developed a fadeaway, they developed a shot. Russ is not the greatest shooter, and that's putting it pretty lightly. He shot 90% from three, qualifying, of how many people shot that many three-pointers, and he was the worst, obviously, at 19%. And not even just that, he was missing layups right and left. Now, to say that he's the worst player in the league now, which is what some people are saying, isn't true, obviously. But who wants to pay $47 million for what they know right now seems to be a $15 million player? Which I believe is true. Because obviously he opted into his $47 million extension, which why the fuck wouldn't you? Because he knows he doesn't have that much trade value. He knows, or at least he should know, okay, say I decline this, and I say, no, I want to be moved somewhere else. Nobody's saying, oh, I'll pay you $47 million. Give it 5 years ago. Oh, yeah, somebody's paying that 47. Now, people are being like, I'll give you 15 for like a year or 2 years. I'll give you the vet minimum, which I'm pretty sure is 5.6, which I think he's definitely deserving of more of that, but nobody's giving him 47 million. Nobody. And if you were to, you'd be a damn fool. But when it comes to where he should go, I think his best bet is to stay with the Lakers and kind of play the role Darvin Ham has already set out, where it's okay, be more defensively responsible, kind of play the dunker's role, be more of a traditional point guard, even though Braun should be handling the ball more. But kind of just, you're already great at rebounding. Keep rebounding. Keep doing stuff that could help in the game, but maybe don't be like, oh, I need the ball 90% of the time. Will you listen to that? It seems that he does not want to stay because of that. Because we have heard reports that he officially has cut ties with his longtime agent of 15 years since he was back at back going into OKC from UCLA. Obviously, the Supersonics is somewhere in there in the first part of his career, but it's been his agent for his entire career, and I think he's so kind of bullheadish. Where now, I bet you his agent was like, "Your best bet is to stay here, collect your money, just even if they're paying you to stay away from the team, because you know you're not going to get 47 anywhere else." And it seems he didn't like that. He didn't believe that. So it seems that they parted ways, or he fired him, or he left. And whatever the case may be, it seems he thought, oh, I'm still Russell Westbrook, which by name, yes, you are, but by everybody saw the tape last year. Everybody saw the tape. And the worst thing you could do, whether you're injured, whether you're not playing well, the worst thing you could do is put bad tape out there. Let's just use Baker Mayfield as a great comparison. Baker Mayfield played hurt last year, and everybody called him a scrub, including myself. I'll completely admit that. Everybody called him a scrub. Everybody said, oh, he's dog shit. He doesn't deserve to be a starting quarterback in the league, when realistically he's an average quarterback. Should he get another chance in the league? Yes, because I think he's better than a lot of quarterbacks, especially that came up in this draft. I think he's a middle of the pack quarterback. Do I think he deserves all the praise he gets? No. But do I think he deserves to be booted out of the league? Also no. So, and him playing injured with that bad tape goes for, oh, he's probably played more like this than he played in that 11-game stretch where he was playing well. While Russ, they're seeing this tape this year going, oh, you look more like this recently than the triple-doubles and the flashiness that you had of the past. So I think his best bet, I'm guessing what his attorney or his agent told him to do, stay, listen to Darvin Ham, do that. He didn't want to go for it. He thought he could go somewhere else, get 47 probably. And it doesn't seem that's going to work that way. And also there's reports that LeBron said he wants nothing to do with, he doesn't want to play at all with Russell Westbrook. He has no intention, was the true quote. But LeBron, you're kind of stuck. You wanted him. This is your fault. You could have had Buddy Hield. You easily could have had Buddy Hield instead of Russell Westbrook, and I think the season would have ended up a lot better. You would have had a lot more money. You wouldn't have been strapped for cash. You probably wouldn't be as much in the luxury tax. It's a very poor situation from GM LeBron, and he made his bed. He's kind of got to sleep in it because there's also talks that Russ was going to go for Russ in a first round pick for Buddy Hield, and they said no, we want Russ and the two first round picks, the 2027 and the 2029 first round pick, which would clear them out of first round picks for this decade. And they said Jeannie Buss said no, so it doesn't seem Buddy Hield is coming to the Lakers, and it just comes to show where it's like, oh, you could have had him a lot cheaper. But you guys were like, oh, Russ will work because we have three superstars. When it's kind of shown obviously with the Celtics and the Warriors who went to the finals this past year, depth wins. You could have your super team, but if you have no depth and one of your superstars is hurt or two of your superstars, you got no team. So for the Lakers, they very much screwed themselves, and I find it hilarious because I hate the Lakers. But Lakers, LeBron, AD, they're in for a very Genie Bus. They're in for a very long season. I don't know what they have planned because I don't know where else you could bring them. There's talks that Russ could go to Charlotte, and Charlotte's in another bad situation when it comes to Miles Bridges. Obviously, he is probably I think they said he's facing at least 5 years, at least, for it's 3 counts of domestic violence, 2 counts of child abuse, which is awful, and I really hope it's not true, but it seems that there's already proof with the wife or girlfriend, a video of the kid talking about it. So he ruined his career when it comes to that, but I guess Russ was going to go to Charlotte. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen with the new coach they're trying to bring in, doesn't want him. He was supposed to go back to OKC. I don't know why they would do that, considering they have good upcoming stars and Josh Giddey, maybe Chet Holmgren. They seem like they kind of are starting to figure some stuff out again. I don't know why they would ruin it with Shai. He could go back to Washington. I don't think Washington wants to do that, even though they just paid Bradley Beal $250 million, basically just to sit there the rest of his career and not win anything. So I don't know. Lakers put themselves in this situation, more like LeBron put himself in this situation. He's going to have to figure out his way out because it seems like it's going to be another play-in hopeful season for the Lakers. Do I think they make it to the playoffs? It's a toss-up. It's if Russ conforms, which I don't think he will. I don't think they make it to the playoffs again. If Russ somehow listens and actually does conform, I think they could be a bottom tier seed in the West, even though that West is stacked now with the Clippers coming back, Warriors being fully healthy again, just the Suns hopefully not flaming out. But yeah. And lastly, we have DeAndre Ayton. So this is another interesting thing where it didn't seem like he wanted to come back to the Suns. And the Suns seemed like they were going to get ready to trade him to Brooklyn for Kevin Durant, which I still think would have been a bad idea because then you have no big. But it seemed like that was going to be the plan. And then all of a sudden he, with his smart mind, goes, oh, somebody else could offer me something. Let me see what I could get. He goes to the Pacers. They offer him 4 years, 160, I believe. And now with the Suns seeing like, oh, we can't just let him go for nothing, they go, oh, but they match it pretty quickly. So now they seem to be out of the running for Kevin Durant. So he got his money. He deserved to be paid, even though he hasn't played particularly as great as we expected him to be, considering he's a legit 7-foot center who moves guard-like, not like a guard, but guard-like. Has a pretty decent shot, very good at free throws, very good rim protecting. But he only seems to average 15 and 10, I believe, when he should be a 25 and 10 type of guy, or 25 and 12 type of guy, which is what I believe the Suns were frustrated with, and it seems that's why Monty Williams didn't want to continue to play him. But he seems to want his money, which he deserves, and hopefully the Suns figured out the season. CP3 could maybe get a ring. But hey, Suns will figure it out somehow, hopefully. And that concludes for another solo episode on Celtics offseason. Just a lot of offseason stuff this year. Football's picking back up. We're going to get a lot more news as the season barrels toward forward. Whenever Deshaun Watson's verdict comes out, I'll definitely do a reaction to that. But make sure to follow us on Instagram and on TikTok. We will soon be on every platform, including Apple Podcast. But make sure to subscribe and like on whatever platform you're listening to this on. And yeah, DM me for any ideas of course, on the Instagram page. And that's about it. Bye.